You ever notice how the worst things in life, the moments that gut you, leave you speechless, sometimes turn out to be the very thing that sets you free? I used to think hero stories were just that, stories. But I'm telling you what happened that one boiling July afternoon at the Blackwood estate. I still replay it, and sometimes I wonder, did any of them see it coming? Did I? It started with this sound kid screaming, splashing, the snap of sunlight off a $100 glass of lemonade. And right there at the edge of it all, 6-year-old Ethan Blackwood sat alone in his wheelchair, watching the party from behind eyes way too old for his age. I always saw him, maybe because nobody else really did. Not his dad, Richard, who was busy selling some future or shaking hand with suits. Not even his mom, Vivian, with her smile like glass pretty, but cold, and you never knew if it would shatter. Now, my mom, Rosa, and we were staff to help. She kept the house standing, and I cleared the tables for extra cash, every dollar going to my college fund. I wasn't supposed to talk to the guests, especially not the family, but Ethan wasn't the guest to me. He was just a kid who'd lost more than most people ever have, paralyzed after some accident that no one talked about, at least not when I was in earshot. He'd been quiet all day, counting cannonballs, waiting for something, maybe just a look or a little attention. I remember kneeling next to him, whispering, "How's the party, buddy?" and seeing him light up 27 cannonballs. He told me, like it was the most important thing in the world. That's when I felt someone watching us. And sure enough, there was Richard, staring hard, pulling Vivian away with a hiss. Why is the help talking to Ethan again? You know how people pretend kindness is some kind of liability? That was Richard Blackwood in a nutshell. But then it happened so fast. Ethan leaning forward to get a better look at a toy boat, just a little too far, his chair right at the edge, and suddenly was gone. You ever have one of those moments where the world slows down and all you hear is your own heart in your ears? That was me. I dropped my tray, glass shattering somewhere behind me, and screamed, "Ethan's in the pool!" But nobody heard me, not really. They were too busy living their perfect lives. I kicked off my shoes and dove, uniform and all, water burning my eyes, arms slicing through chlorine, reaching for Ethan, who was already sinking, wheelchair dragging him down, legs useless, arms flailing. It was just us, the noise above dimming until all I could hear was my own breath and his bubbles escaping, desperate and terrified. I grabbed him, kicked hard so hard my lungs burned, dragging him up, until the sunlight shattered across the water and we broke the surface. "Someone help us!" I screamed. Now they noticed. Now there were screams and running feet, Vivian frozen on the edge, her childhood fear of water pinning her in place. Richard barking orders, security pulling Ethan from my arms onto the concrete. He wasn't breathing, tiny, blue-lipped, and lifeless. Someone yelled for 911, and the crowd pulled back, their faces suddenly strangers. Nobody saw me, not really, except my mom, who rushed to my side, soaked and shaking, whispering, "You saved him, mija." But I didn't feel like a hero. Not until Ethan gasped, spewing water, and the sirens wailed up the drive, and Richard cradled him, whispering, "You're okay, buddy. You're okay." But Ethan's eyes were searching for me, and when they found me, he whispered, "The girl saved me." And everything changed. That's when the world tipped again. The hospital was all bright lights and whispers, Richard pacing, shoes squeaking on tile, Vivian with mascara streaked down her face, doctors talking about secondary drowning, and me sitting in the cafeteria, still in damp clothes, clutching coffee I couldn't drink. Mom wanted to go home, but I couldn't leave, not until I knew Ethan was all right. They called us in, a security guard escorting me to a private room. Richard standing by the window, face gray with guilt, telling me Ethan wanted to see me. When I stepped into his room, Ethan looked so small in that big bed, his skin the color of the sheets. "You gave us quite a scare," I joked, but inside I was shaking. Vivian hovered, gratitude and resentment battling in her eyes, thanking me, but clearly wanting her family back to normal, whatever that meant. And then, as if life hadn't thrown enough curveballs, I got a Calaman named Marcus Stone, claiming to be Richard's old business partner. He told me the accident that paralyzed Ethan wasn't an accident at all, that Richard's business was rotten, that someone had meant to hurt Stone but hurt Ethan instead. I didn't want to believe it would, but then all these little things started to make sense. The malfunctioning cameras, the hospital leaks, Richard's need to control every narrative, every moment. I tried to ignore it, to do what felt right there for Ethan, sign their fancy contract, take the money and the job as his companion, but it felt like signing away my soul. And when I finally met Stone, and he handed me a flash drive, saying, "This is the truth. Decide for yourself," I knew I was in deeper than I ever meant to go. Everything unraveled after that. The media frenzy, the sudden firing staff gone overnight, only Mom and me left. The threats, subtle and not so subtle, from Richard's lawyer. And Ethan, stuck in the middle, more alone than ever. The day the FBI came, sirens blaring, agents swarming the mansion, it was chaos. Richard in cuffs, Vivian screaming her innocence, Ethan crying for his dad, and me, clutching him in the conservatory, promising it would be okay. Child Protective Services want to take him, but Mom stepped up. He can stay with us. You ever see a millionaire's son sleep on a second-hand pull-out couch, holding a battered teddy bear, and smile because for once he's safe? That was Ethan, in our tiny apartment, eating quesadillas with extra cheese. Vivian came to us that night, stripped of everything except her love for her son, asking for help. She was scared, but she was ready to testify, ready to burn the last bridge to her old life. It turned out she had her own secrets, evidence stashed away, her maiden name, the whole world she'd hidden from Richard and from herself. 3 months later, everything had changed. Richard went down for fraud, conspiracy, and worse, the evidence from Vivian's box was the nail in his coffin. We moved witness protection, new names, a small town, a new start. Marcus Stone even stopped by sometimes, just to check we were safe. Ethan got stronger, started swimming again, a water that nearly killed him now setting him free. You ask if I regret it, jumping in that day, risking everything for a kid I barely knew? Not for a second. Sometimes the people worth saving aren't the ones you expect, and sometimes family is something you find at the bottom of a pool in the middle of chaos when everyone else is looking away. So tell me, if it were you, would you dive in? Would you risk it all for what's right, even if the world said you were nothing? I want to know, what does justice look like to you? Is it punishing the guilty, saving the innocent, or something messy, something in between? Drop your thoughts below, because this story's not over. Not by a long shot.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những...
It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.
After the tree to hold on to. Yeah.
Yeah, use the fence.